Hey Brad, how's Wednesday?
Happy Wednesday. Hello, everybody. My name's Brad Williams, one of the managing partners here at Trade Ideas. Today is our Wednesday Q&A, question and answer session. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through a disclaimer, but then I'm going to take you on a little tour of the product. I'm going to show you what we've been working on. I'm going to kind of speed through that. I'm not going to linger too long. I'm going to talk a little bit about our odds maker, the back tester, and how we've taken that technology, moved it into the AI. Talk about a few of the new filters that we've just released, and then a little bit about Brokerage Plus. So that's my agenda. If you guys have any questions in there, my partner in crime, Barry, he'll do his best to answer it with a typed reply, like Scott said. But if not, I'll go ahead and take that question as I see it and address it in that fashion. So let's get going. This is our disclaimer, guys. We are not a registered investment advisor. We are a software technology company. So any of the stock symbols that I'm going to talk about here today, please don't construe that as investment advice. I don't know anything about your account. I don't know anything about your risk thresholds. So please don't take anything as investment advice, just for educational purposes only, please. We've been doing this just about 17 years. We're 1 month away from being in this business for 17 years, focusing on nothing but idea generation, finding the best stocks that you should be trading right now. That's what we do. We sit and we scan the market. We listen to every single tick of every single stock out there. And when something interesting happens, our software is poised to be able to deliver that information to you in a variety of different ways. But at the core of what we do, it's really taking this data and this real-time analysis and the distribution of that information. When we're ingesting all this data, we're creating new bits of information along the way, custom filters that are proprietary to Trade Ideas that you can use in any of the windows in any of your strategies, whether it's viewing them or using them as filters in the software. You can create your own strategies here. Software to really your trading style, fit it to your desktop, fit it to your resolution of your monitors, and really custom configure it to you. I'm going to talk about the back tester. I mentioned that earlier. That's the odds maker. So you have the ability to analyze your strategies after you create them, and then you have the ability to execute those strategies very, very quickly, either through an automated fashion or through a right-click mechanism. Right now, we're integrated with Interactive Brokers. We do have some plans. In fact, we're started development on an additional integration. So really excited about that. In addition, we're doing some development on paper trading. So the development that we're doing on paper trading is going to allow you to migrate and transition really simply and easily into the Brokerage Plus module for live trading through, right now I said Interactive Brokers, but there'll be some additional ones coming. I'm not going to even talk about the different windows here in this PowerPoint, but we do have different visualization windows in the software: alert, top list, multi-strategy windows, charting, deep dive windows like the single stock, compare count windows. So these are all tools that are at your disposal in the platform, all available whether it's the standard or the premium. So they're both available. All of these windows are available in that. It's really the AI that's the differentiating factor between the two different versions of the software. Price alerts available in both. I'll show you that as we go into the software. The back testing, which I'll do a deeper dive into that. Brokerage Plus, the automation and the AI. That's what we've been doing for the last couple of years, really focusing our technology on the AI and machine learning. So let me go ahead and close this and we'll bring up the software. In fact, I'll start off here with our web-based version. Trade Ideas Pro is available also in a web-based version. Very, very similar. We really tried to make them really, really similar. If you know how to use one, you should know how to use the other. So in the web-based version, let me show you how you get there. So you just go to our homepage, trade-ideas.com, and TI for the web. I'm already logged in, so otherwise it's just a username and password, just like in TI Pro, and it brings in the software right here. So let's go back here. So this is like the blank slate. And just like in the application, you have access to the variety of different windows, whether it's an alert window, top list, a channel. So this is how you can get started right away. You don't really need to know how to configure the software to get some benefit out of it. Just go to the pre-market channel. You can see the pre-market is on. I'm going to go ahead and make this just a little bit bigger so it takes up my entire window. So now this is a pre-market channel. This is going to operate as I bring in the application in a very similar fashion. We're looking at gappers here using our top list window, stocks that are gapping up, gapping down. Of course, you can click on anything and it'll go ahead and update. It looks like I logged myself out, so let's go ahead and log myself back in. There we go. So now when you click on a symbol, everything updates. You can take any of these windows in any of the channels and you can pop them out. Just hit the pop out. Then it becomes a free floating window that you can move around. So if I go ahead and close the channel, you'll see here, this is just a free floating window. Anything that I create in the application version, I can share through the cloud. So if I load from my cloud, I can bring in a channel, bring in a variety of different windows, really customize my layout. So I just wanted to let you guys know, if you do have a subscription to Trade Ideas, you have access to both versions of the software. You can only run one at a time. It'll just log you off and then you can just log back in. But you do have access to both of them. And so when you do save something to the cloud, you go onto your laptop, you're going to have access to everything that you configured there. So let's go ahead and move that aside and let's get right into the application. So I mean, it looks really the same, right? I've got, these are just free floating windows, just like they were free floating windows inside of the browser before. But this is how you can get going with the channel bar. This is our remote control to the market. This is where we set up a variety of different workspaces for you using a variety of the different windows, whether it's the alert window or the top list window or the multi-strategy. They kind of all have their own purpose depending upon really what you're doing and what you're looking at. You know, you could look at up gappers. Well, look, in the pre-market channel right here, I'm really looking at similar things in different ways. I've got my up gappers and my down gappers in a list form, but then what I have over here are my pre-market movers, and these are events, these are alerts. So essentially, if I right click, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but if I right click in a multi-strategy and go over strategies, you can see here that I have 4 different unique configurations, unique alert strategies all bundled into this one window. So whether it's a pre-market high, a pre-market low, something that's happening with high relative volume, or something that's moving up inordinately in the pre-market, those 4 different events are going to generate an alert here. So again, this is something that's going to be listening for something happening, and this is going to be generating a ranked list of stocks. But like on any of the channels, and just like I showed you in the web version, if you want to take something and pin it, you can always save it right here to the side of your desktop, and you start perusing the channels. You can then accumulate a variety of different windows that you can build into your own workspace. Or if you wanted to, you could take this layout that we have right here, and then you could further modify it and say, okay, I like this this pre-market channel, but I do want to make a few changes. I only want to look at stocks that are, say, between $5 and $80. That's my sweet spot. So I want to customize it in that regard. And you would do that to all the different windows. Make sure the filters are such that you want with average volume and things like that. But once you've created it or modified it, set up the resolution, the size of the windows the way that you want, then what you can do is you can just go ahead and save it to the cloud. So if I go to save to the cloud right here and I do the entire layout, it's going to check every one of the windows that I have open right now, and I can call this, say, my custom channel, my custom pre-market channel, whatever it is, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and save it. Once I've saved it to my cloud, I could load it up in that web-based version. I could pull it up here later on, or I could go up into my channel bar and hit this gear icon, edit the channel, and now I can create a new one. So let's go ahead and add it. You know, I could bring in my own image if I wanted to, or I could use one of the predefined images that we have right here. And let's go custom pre-market. And let's go ahead and write that. Okay, well, that's not going to fit. So let's just say my pre-market. Maybe that'll fit. Okay, so that'll fit. And now what I want to do is I also want to go to the cloud here. I just saved it. So this is my custom channel. This is what I saved. I'm going to select it. And now I'm going to hit OK. So now this is going to be my custom pre-market channel. I don't need to go to this pre-market. This is going to be one that has all the windows that I want, everything that I'm looking at, customized to myself. And that's how you can set this up and customize the channel bar. So going through the different channels that we have on here, we have this My Liked channel. The My Liked channel is pretty interesting because it's integrated with the chart window with the heart that we have on it. Now the heart allows you to like something. Once you like it, it'll become visible in the My Liked channels. So here I could select that, and then it'll become visible in one of the windows here, whether it's a stream, something happening right now with that symbol, or whether it's making the list here based upon how much it's moved either over the last 5 minutes or during the day. If I scroll down a little bit, and I'll come back to this, I've got some other channels here. These are my AI channels that have these little data grids in here, these little charts, and these are the ideas that are selected via the AI channel. And every day the AI goes ahead and updates these channels with various strategies after optimizing them. So every day you come in and you're presented with these list of strategies that have been optimized from the night before. We don't really know, well, we have no idea what symbols, if any, are going to be triggered out of those strategies. And we can go to it, like for instance, Holy Grail, we can go to that one. Looks like I had pinned a window back there. Let me get rid of that. So I have 3 different segments of our AI channel. Holy Grail just happens to be one of them. It was our first one. This is where we started our development of the AI. In this window right here where my cursor is, this is presenting me with all the different strategies today. Well, at the beginning of the day, these were all the strategies. They didn't have any trades through them. And when an event occurred, it appears here in the strategy window, and it'll also appear over on the right-hand side, either as an open trade or a closed trade. So we're giving you these ideas in real time. Let me broaden this bottom window right here. So these are all the ideas that were generated in this segment, Holy Grail, today. And there were some nice ones. And if you look at the percentage return, there were some really nice returns here. One that wasn't so good, but let me kind of show you and illustrate. And I'll come back to how these strategies are set up and how they're optimized. But let me just blow up this chart right here. So this right here, FPRX, it tells you, it illustrates on the chart where that signal occurred. And then it tells you visually where that stop was. If you were to get stopped out of it, it would be below this red line. And it lets you know where that idea occurred. So this wasn't a very good signal. It was obviously the worst one in this segment right here. But there's some shading that's going on. Every one of these strategies is created and optimized with the various time frames. And these time frames are determined in different profit modes. Risk off is the time frame for these strategy optimizations. And the risk off is indicative of the darker color highlighting that's prevalent right here. So that's your risk off profit is what happened right here. The risk on is taking it all the way to the end of the day. So if we go to the strategy, the 5-day bounce, that actually was very nice, and we pull that one up, you can see how the gradient worked on this one. The idea was called out right here. The stock moved up. It got out of the trade right here. This was a timed exit out of the trade. And this is where it occurred all the way to the end of the day. So this will be like a transition into the back tester, into the odds maker, which is really the technology that we use to optimize these strategies every single day. The 5-day bounce just happens to be one of those strategies. So let me bring it on in here. So this is the actual strategy from today for the 5-day bounce. And if I hit today, running a history, and it's looking back, and it's going through each one of the signals that had occurred. There's the other 5-day bounce, BKE, MUR. Okay, so these were the signals that occurred today in this particular strategy, and there were 3 of them. So let's go ahead and run the odds maker. On any one of these windows that have an A in the upper left-hand corner, if it has that A up there, it's an alert window, and an alert window is an event-based window which you can backtest. So we'll right-click and we'll select backtest, and I have a tabbed window here. The first tab is, when can I possibly enter this trade? So I'm on the West Coast. We start the market at 6:30. I'm not going to trade for the first 15 minutes in this particular strategy. And I'm not going to trade for the last hour and a half. That means I'm not going to initiate a position for this strategy in the last hour and a half of the market day. And I'm going to attempt to hold this position here, if I get into it, for 90 minutes. Now I say attempt because I have some risk management parameters on here. I'm looking for a profit target. So if I happen to make $1 on this trade here within that 90 minutes, it's going to get me out. I'm going to call it a winner. And that's going to be the hypothesis that we're going to use for a profit target. And then I also have a stop loss, and I'm using one of the filters that we have, which is an algorithm. It looks at the stock's relative volume, it looks at its range for the day, and there's another metric that it's looking at, the stock's average volatility. So it takes a look at those 3 metrics and determines what is that smart stop for it, and this is going to be my stop loss. If it happens to go, let's say the smart stop is 40 cents, then if it goes 40 cents, it's going to get me out of the position. I'm going to lose 40 cents on it. I'm going to test it for 63 trading days. It's about a quarter, about 3 months of data. And now let's go ahead and simulate the buy. So what you see up at the top right here, these are the icons that represent the alerts. Those are the 2 icons with the white background. And then I have some icons that are the cyan color. These are my min filters. And if you hover over any of them, it's going to give you that tooltip, and we'll be able to go into the strategy and see what those values are. But if you just hover over it, you can see what that is. And then these are the max values, this magenta color. These are, the various max values. So a few filters, a couple of alerts, it makes up a strategy, and that strategy is the 5-day bounce. So it's almost done. It's about 99% done. It's that last mile that's always the killer. But it's chewing away on the data. It's all server-side data, so it's not really processing anything really hard on your computer. It's doing it all in our data center. So as we wait for that to come in, that's this particular strategy right here. And if you go into it, well, I'm not going to go into it. Let's let it finish here. So these are the metrics that come up in a back test, in an odds maker run. I've got a couple different quadrants of information here. I've got some data in the upper left-hand corner, my numerical data such as profit factor, sum total of all my winning trades over losing trades. How many trades are in this sample set? 309 trades make up the sample set over that 3-month period of time. Now the average, or the number of winners on a percentage basis, is not great. I mean, just a little over 50%. 53%. When you find something like 60%, that's really good. So you don't think like you need to have like an 80% win rate for it to be good, because this other metric right here is something that correlates very straight with it. Like for instance, the average winner to loser. This is almost 2x. It's almost 2 times the average winner to loser. So that's an important metric. If they were pretty close to each other, then I would need to have this to be a greater percentage. So they kind of work hand in hand. Gives you your strategy return, projected annual return, and what's the buying power that would be needed in order to implement this strategy. And if we're starting with $50,000 and I'm trading, this is my hypothesis, that I'm going to trade $2,500 per transaction. So I'm going to buy the equivalent number of shares that make $2,500 worth. These are my commissions. And so it's giving me that visual output. This is my visual equity curve that's giving me my gross equity on top, and then the other includes commission and or slippage, however you want to calculate it on the commission per share factor. So that is your equity curve. Here we've got some tabs over here which make it pretty interesting, where you can look at your profit per day, the number of trades per day. Are there outliers? It's important to know, are there outliers in the sample set or not? What is your drawdown? What's your max drawdown? What's the buying power required here? So when I said 77,000, you now have a visual representation. It was really only on 1 or 2 days that it was really required there. Otherwise, on average, it was between 25 and 40,000, maybe even a little bit less. So those are my tabs here. Then I have my calendar heat map with respect to the days. I could drill into any one of these days. It's giving me that color graphical representation as to whether it's positive or negative, and it's all relative to each other. So if I double click on one of the days, I can see all the trades that took place, on that day. A lot of trades, so I don't know about that. So you really get that detail of information. The real power, though, I mean, to be honest with you, the real power when we discovered that we had what was behind this optimization tab is what we were really using to model the AI and its machine learning. So this optimization tab, I can kind of explain it with price right here. If we look at it and we break this strategy down in price, I'm only trading stocks between $2 and $20. That's the strategy. If I go into it right here, go into configure, and I go, well, let's go to here. Let's go to my filters, my price. So I've got price between 50 cents and $20. So that's the range. Now I could come here and I can see that the 5 trades that occurred in that $2 to $4 range, I was only successful 20% of the time. So maybe I would use this information. Now remember, this is already an optimized strategy. It's already pretty good. So I'm going to find very few flaws here, but maybe this is something that I would want to do. And if I wanted to do that, I could just right click here at that $4 price point. So I'll right click, and now I'll set the minimum value of the price to $4. Goes into that, it finds the alert window, it changes the value to 4, and now I hit OK. Let's call this modified. So that's how you would start the modification process. Then you can go into the time of day and go, okay, well, wow, I wasn't really successful during the last half hour. Remember, I'm trading between 6:45. Let's break this into 15-minute intervals. I'm trading between 6:45 and 11:30, I think, were my time. So now I'm kind of slicing and dicing it up, and I can see here towards the end of the day, not quite as successful. So maybe here at 10:30, I'm going to use that as the time when I'm going to stop. Maybe even 9:45, but let's just go 10:30. So I would do that in a little bit of a different way. I would come here, I can go to configure, and I have a filter in here called time. So if we come here and we go add the filter, I think it's already in here. So we're avoiding the first 15 minutes and we're avoiding the last, what was that, hour and a half. So now we're going to take 30 minutes from that and we'll change that to 270. We could even take another 30 minutes from that. So now we've modified that as the time. I'll hit OK. And now if we run this again and we back test the strategy, hopefully it won't take quite as long. It's going to go through and it's going to go with these new modifications that I have here. Modifications from the price, modifications from when I can initiate a trade here in the strategy. So that's kind of an illustration of what the powerful part is, and that's the other filters tab. The other filters tab, if you have it set up properly when you do the odds maker run, will set up here with all the different filters inside of Trade Ideas. If you have custom filters, it'll add those as well. But now you get that same information on these data sets, on these filters that we have. So the 20-day range, when the 20-day range is up to $3, this was my success rate. There were 32 trades. I won almost 60% of the time. So it's giving you that data. And then you can just kind of go down on a percentage basis. Well, on a percentage basis, when the 20-day range happened to be really big, like 250%, I didn't do so good. So maybe this is where I would want to put a filter on the strategy. Right click, set the max value of the 20-day range to 250 or 249.99. So that's the technique that's used, really looking at the data, looking at all the different data points, unique data points to trade ideas, and then the other data points that are standard in the marketplace, and using that information to try to optimize the strategy. So the question here, Jeff, on strategy return is over one period. Not sure I understand that. The strategy return is over the time period that we did. So in this particular case here, we were looking at a sample set of 63 trading days. So that's going to be the strategy return over those 63 trading days. All right, so yeah, that's the technique that the odds maker used. So when you go ahead and understand the ability to optimize these strategies, a whole world really opens up to you with respect to strategy creation. And once you create a strategy, once you've really created something that you like maybe it's this strategy right here, this 5-day bounce modified, well, then you can take it and you can bring it into the Brokerage Plus module. So let me bring it up here, and specifically you would drop it. Well, there are a couple ways you can use it, right? So once you're connected in Brokerage Plus, you can go ahead and use the right-click menu on any of the windows and trade it based upon your predefined settings. So you set these up. You set up the default that you want to use from a share quantity, a dollar quantity, the type of order that you're going to market with, and you set that up, and it just becomes a right-click away. And you set that up right here on the Strategies tab in Brokerage Plus. So if I come here and say buy 500 share or buy 100 shares at market, let's edit this thing, and let's say I want to do, let's say I want to buy $5,000 worth. And from here, we'll just change this right here to fixed dollars, and we'll change that to $5,000 worth. It's a market order, that's fine. You could change it to a limit delta. You can include a stop, you can include a target. So you can really bundle all that information into this order type. And you can say, okay, I only want to stay in it till the end of the day, unless you manually override it. And you can set it up in that regard. Oh, one more thing I want to do. Let's go back into the edit trading strategy. Let's go to accounts, and let's make sure we're in the paper trading here. Hit save. Hit OK. All right, so now buy 5,000 worth at market. Go right click, and we're going to be changing this so you're not able to do markets after hours, but until we release it, we're still doing a lot of testing. So if I set that up, maybe he's already changed it. How funny. Okay. So, but you know, right there, and you send it to the market. But let's say I wanted to automate this thing. Let's say anytime there's a signal, look, I've already back tested it. I already have an idea of the kind of the outcome of this strategy based upon the historical. Now, I never know what's going to happen in the future, but I have an idea based on the historical representation. If I wanted to automate anytime there was a signal here, well, this is what I would do. I'm going to go ahead and right click, I'm going to go to collaborate, and I'm going to copy it. So now I've just taken the settings, all the alerts and filter settings, and I've kind of stored it in the clipboard, in the memory, if you will. So now let's come over here to strategies, and let's go ahead and, actually I'm going to do this a different way. Let's go ahead and right click, and I could do it that way, but I'm going to go ahead and save this to the cloud, the 5-day bounce modified. So now I've saved it to my cloud. I'm going to come here, and I go ahead and load from the cloud. So now I'm just going to add this 5-day bounce modified. I'm going to load it. Now it's going to ask me, what do I want to do? And I just want to go ahead and add the existing. So now I've added this one strategy in here, the 5-day bounce modified. Okay, and so now if I right click, go to edit trading strategy, it knows based on how I had this thing set up via the odds maker when I want to initiate the trades. Couple other options here. This is where you dictate or denote what your position sizing is, and you have 3 different options. You can do the dollars, you can do a fixed share quantity like 100 shares or 500 shares, or you can do based on a stop loss. And if your strategy has a stop loss in it, wouldn't be good if it doesn't have a stop loss in it. But if it has a stop loss in it, you can set it up like your risk is, let's say, $50. So if it happens to get stopped out, you're going to lose $50. So it'll size you based upon the distance from the stop and that value that you're not willing to lose more than. So that's how you can automate it. So you set this up right here, kind of finish it. Let's go fixed dollars. 90 minutes, that was our time, and then you hit OK. Once you have it set in here and you want to turn it on, all you do is click here to enable it. It's now on, and it's waiting for the next signal to occur. And when you're connected, right now this is connected to paper trading, but if you're connected to live, then you would be executing these orders in the live marketplace. Okay, guys, any questions? Tell me where you want me to go, what you want me to talk about, what subject. I mean, you know, a trade idea, like I said, 17 years, we've taken it from one window, the alert window, and we've created a full platform with all these different windows, all these different functionalities. So if you have something you want me to talk about, I would be more than happy. That load from cloud is a pretty powerful feature, or the cloud in general, because when you're saving something, and remember that when you're creating your custom channels here, it doesn't have to be a full channel. For instance, if let's go save or share to cloud. Maybe I just want to save a couple of windows. So now I've just saved 2 windows, and if I don't have this checked right here, it's not going to clear the layout. So now I could just have a couple of windows that I may want to use occasionally, maybe my climactic mover window, and just pop it in, you know, by having a button set up for the climactic mover. So it doesn't have to be a workspace, could just be a single window. All right, Brian, so to automate the Holly strategies, one, you have to have a subscription that would allow you to do that. But let's just say you do, this is what you would do. We have a Holly AI tab. If you don't see it on your Brokerage Plus, you go to New, Holly AI tab. So this tab right here is pre-populated with all the different strategies from the 3 different segments. So you can see which segments they're from, what particular strategy. First thing you need to do is you want to edit the instructions, the long instructions, the short instructions, and then if you want to participate in the reentries, you can do that as well. And the reentry is an algorithm. Let's say you get stopped out, and there's a threshold line halfway between the stop and the original entry price. When that gets crossed again, then you're subject to the reentry. So if you have your reentries enabled and you have a reentry order set up in here, you'll go ahead and get back into that position. So you set them up, right? So the long strategies, this is what you do. You know, how do you want to trade it? Do you want to trade it in risk off, risk on, or the best of, depending on where it is at the time right at that point in time. How do you want to go to the market? With a limit order, with a market order? Do you want to put a limit delta? That means that if you're going to go with the last price plus or minus a certain number of pennies. And then how long do you want to keep it out there for? So those are your instructions, and you have to do that for the longs, the shorts, and the reentries. Once you do that, you can save it, like permanently save it. Save your window, save as default. So when you right click on here, the save as default will save this window the way that you have it right there. Your tabs that you have saved, the columns that you have set up in it, you know, all of the way that you've configured the window. So that save as default is pretty key. You can also save it to the cloud or do both. And that way you can have both available. So Tom, I'm not sure, you know, the one thing that's pretty unique about the AI and really trade ideas in general, you can have this thing monitor a particular list of stocks, or you can set up your market cap to a certain number. But what we found is some of these really great movers, some of these really big percentage movers happen to be some of the more obscure names. So I'm not sure, you know, what you have available with your brokers in Europe, but we do have a test drive. The test drive, I think we're setting it up for next month, next mid-month, and I think we've even talked about making it a couple-week test drive. So it could be a good opportunity to take a look at the signals that are generated through the AI or just the software in general. Well, Stephen, yeah, you can always speak to someone about the product. you can send us an email to info@trade-ideas.com, and then someone can get back to you. You can call, make an attempt at getting someone there. But yeah, you can always speak to someone about it. So actually, Anthony, Brokerage Plus is available to the standard subscription. It's a change that we just made. Now, the Holly automation is not, but everybody's going to be having access to Brokerage Plus in addition to the paper trading. And the paper trading is about, I mean, I'm going to go out on the limb and say it's about a week away from release. There are still a few bugs, tiny bugs, but for the most part, it's ready to go. And so we're kind of on our final test here. So that's something that you should be on the lookout for as a beta release. If not next week, then the week after, most certainly. So Anthony, am I wrong, Scott? I thought Brokerage Plus was available for everybody.
Well, he might not be on the new version, I think.
Gotcha.
And
yeah,
and I think in order to be useful, he has to connect to an interactive brokerage account at this point, because there's no paper trade.
Well, Anthony, shoot us an email, and if I'm wrong, then I'm gonna get mad at myself. But I don't think I am. And if I am, Wally, we have made some changes to it, so maybe it hasn't quite made it to the pipeline yet. But this is going to be something that everybody's going to have access to. So maybe there's a little bit of a permissioning issue that we need to work out here, but yeah, we wanted to give everybody the access to it through the software. So we'll kind of clear this up here very shortly. So Brian, as far as the free commission, I would never say never. IB has incredible commission structure. That was why we did choose to work with them, as well as a very robust API. But I know right now they said that through their API and through their, well, I don't know exactly, but through their API, they weren't going to be doing the free commissions, but you never know. All right, any other questions? You're going to get, hey Zod, you're going to get a replay. We'll send you an email probably tomorrow morning that'll have this this replay. You're going to want to watch this video over and over and over. I'm totally kidding, but yeah, it's available to watch again. So Brokerage Plus, guys, and I'll talk just a little bit about it, because whether you're actually doing live trading or using our paper trading, it's pretty cool, because you know what you do, you get a few things that are pretty unique. So on your position tab right here, you get to see your P&L from the inception of the day, and how are you doing? You know, how did that work? You know, were you up? Were you down? Did you come back? So it gives you a kind of an emotional playback of how that day went from a graphical perspective. You keep track of today's P&L as well as the total P&L, open versus closed. You can have these windows filtered in any number of ways, whether it's just open, looking at certain strategies. So this is your position. You've got your orders that are out there, live and executed, open, the executions that took place, a summary of it all, messages. So the nice thing is, when you kind of play around with the paper mode and understand how it works, you're really understanding how the live trading works. So it makes the transition, you know, really nice. So those are the main tabs. You're pretty much going to spend most of your time here on the positions tab and monitoring the positions. But for instance, when you right click on any of the positions, and you can do multiple positions at once, you can set a stop order very quickly, or you can move a stop, set your time stop, or modify that, targets, assign it to a strategy. Let's just say we're looking at this stock, and let's say we want to bid the stock at $8. So we would come here, and we're visually here on the chart, you're bidding the stock at $8. If you wanted to move that order around, you can do that, you know, just from the chart. If you were to put a stop, it would appear here as well. And if you just want to get executed, you can just get executed during the market just by moving that above the last price. All right, Anthony, we are going to take a look at that tomorrow. So we'll get that figured out for you. All right, guys, any more questions? I'm going to wrap it up and bring back the slide deck. Thank you, Mike. All right, guys, so back to our slide deck. We're getting very, very close to our summit. Let me put this back in presentation mode. So at Symphony Towers, we're going to be doing a presentation. We're going to be having, you know what? I completely forgot. This is kind of the transition to something I did want to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and click that there. Hey, at this summit, we're going to have a great speaker, Brian Shannon. He's with Alpha Trends, and he's going to be talking about one of his bread and butter setups. And he uses an anchored VWAP strategy, something that we've recently added to the software. So let me just bring in a new alert window. We'll go to the search tab here, and I'm going to type in VWAP. So now we've got a few more VWAP filters than we had previously. So I've got distance from VWAP 1. We've had that all the time. That's always been distance from the VWAP. We have VWAP 1, which is what we've had all the time, which is just the daily VWAP. But these other ones, the VWAP 2, 3, 4, and 5, the distance from, as well as the 2, 3, 4, and 5 VWAP, these are anchored to the previous day, the day before that, the day before that, and the day before that. So these are, it's a 5-day anchored VWAPs. And at this summit right here, Brian's going to be talking about how he would configure the software to set it up to look for these various crosses. These crosses are setups for longer term plays. And we're kind of taking a little bit of a longer term approach to some of the filters that we're adding. So if I come back here and I go into the position and range, I've got these 3 new filters to the software. The position and range is a pretty, well, it's a great filter. It's one that we present to you graphically, our graphical position and range, but it's actually a numerical value that lets you know exactly where that stock is currently trading in relationship to these various ranges. The position and range is kind of the flagship one, which is looking at today. So where's that stock trading in relationship to today's high and low? But then we look at different time frames, the previous day, the pre-market, week, month, 3 month, just different time frames. And so we've added a few more longer term time frames in here. So from a visual perspective in a single stock or on one of your windows, you can have that column, but you can also filter it. So if you're looking for a particular type of setup, you would use these filters to kind of shape the picture that you're trying to create. So those are a few of the filters that we recently added. So, but don't let that diminish here the trading summit that's coming up on the 26th. So you can attend it either via live stream or you can attend it in person. And these are the 2 links to get there. All right, guys, we've broken down the price here on a daily basis, whether it's the standard or the premium. So for the price of a cup of coffee or a Subway sandwich, you can use the Premier Idea Generation tool that we've created. Join us in the trading room. Barry's our moderator of the trading room. Barry's been helping out on the question panel here today. So he runs a great room using our software in real time, talks to you guys, explains any questions that people may have, but moreover is really just using our technology to identify things that are happening in the market and trading live real money. So it's a free room. You can get to it right from our website. Just go to our homepage, and in that top bar, that top menu bar, just find Trading Room. Podcast, this is our not so standard way of communicating with everybody. Dan and Jamie put this on every Friday. It's a pretty unique approach to our company. We're a pretty unique company, and I think this is a fun way to talk about what we're doing and what we think about the markets. Got a couple of ebooks. Go to trade-ideas.com/setup to download them. And guys, we're very, very reachable. You can hit us on social media, a couple Twitter accounts there. You can hit us on Facebook. You can give us a call. Best way to communicate with us is via email, info@trade-ideas.com. My email is brad@trade-ideas.com. So I hope I was able to enlighten you a little bit about what we do here. We're super excited about the product that we create. We've never stopped enhancing it, and we're not now. There's a lot of great things that are coming, and we're super excited about it. So thank you very much for taking your time and spending it with me for the last hour. Appreciate it. Scott, I think we're done.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, everyone. And we'll have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. You get an email follow-up. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, all.